how many types of charges are there? Basically there are two types of charge, one is positive and another is nothing but negative. The positive charge we can call the charge on the proton, and the negative charge is nothing but the charge on an electron. So we know that whenever we try to bring the two types of charges, if it is of same nature then they are going to repel, and again if it is of opposite nature then they are going to attract. So the same thing you can verify it experimentally. I am having that glass rod. When I rub that glass rod with the silk, just you have to consider that glass rod and attach that glass rod on the wall over here with the help of string. Then take another your amber rod, just rub it with wool, again tie that with the wall with the help of string. You will find that there is a force of repulsion between them, because now both are having the same kind of your charge, that is either both of them having the negative or both of them are having the positive. Or even you can consider another case where you will find that the two rods they are attracting to each other. So from this experiment you can prove that basically there are two kinds of charges, one is positive and another is negative. If you consider the structure of atom, basically it is neutral in state, means the number of proton is same as that of your number of electron. Since proton is having positive charge and electron is having negative charge, so we can consider that it is neutral in state. If I consider regarding the radius of nucleus is about 10 to the power minus 15 meter, and the radius of orbits in which the electron is revolving, it is around 10 to the power minus 10 meter. So this is how we can just see the structure of your atom. The same thing that you can see over here also in the structure of matter. So basically we are just having those protons and neutron at the center in the nucleus, and then the electrons are revolving around it. Now if one of the electron has been removed from that outermost shell, then the number of positive charges, that is proton, it is more than that of your electron. So that is where it is going to generate that your electric charge, or you can say that it has been converted into positive ions. So there might be one or two number of electrons that is going to leave from that orbit, and which will results in the formation of ion. So if I consider the electrically charged object, so simple, I can say that the total positive charge is same as that of your total negative charge. So in this picture you can say that this is the sphere and which is having some charge on it, and because of that you can see those things over there. So I can say that the positive charge is not same as that of your negative charge. So it is not neutral in state. Again, if I consider, what do you mean by that conservation of charge? The conservation of charge means the charge is neither going to create and nor it is going to destroy. It will just get transferred from one object to the another object. So this is how it looks like in this diagram, where I am just trying to bring this glass rod near to this your sphere. Since the glass rod is having the negative charge, it is attracting all the electrons from that sphere. So because of which you can say that it is forming those your charge induction. Now the law of conservation of charge is also applicable in the induction process. So in the induction process, basically what is going to happen? So I am having this glass rod which is having the negative charge. So obviously it is going to attract the positive charges, or you can say that it is going to repel the electrons. So on one side it is having the positive and on another side it is having the negative charge. So the charge is going to induce temporarily. So that is called as a process of induction. Now the law of conservation of charge is also applicable for your induction process. So now what do you mean by that charging by induction? Suppose I am having that negative charge on that glass rod. When I bring it to this your sphere, so obviously it is going to attract all the positive charges and it will repel those electrons on the right side. You can just do the earthing over there and the electrons will remove or it will get grounded. Then the positive charge is going to distribute equally on that sphere. So this is, you can call the process of charging by induction. So similarly you can do another thing. I am having this balloon which is having the negative charge. If I move it towards this your sphere, again it is going to attract those positive charges or it will repel those your electrons. Initially both these spheres are attached to each other, then I will separate those two spheres. So one is having the positive charge and another is having the negative charge. So this is called as a process of induction. The charge is going to induce temporarily. So this is all about your induction process, where you can that generate the charge, or even you can remove that charge by the process of grounding. Now what will happen because of that presence of your glass rod who is having that negative charge? Obviously it is going to attract all the electrons or it is going to repel. Since here the glass rod is having, for example, negative charge, it will repel those electrons and it will attract those positive charges. So it is going to generate that charge within that neutral conductor, and the same thing we are calling it as a process of induction. And again if I just remove that glass away from it, again all the charge which has been generated, it will get disappear. So that is all about your induction process. Now what are the properties of electric charges? The first one is nothing but additivity of charges. Suppose if I consider this is the body on which I am having the different charge Q1, Q2 and Q3. So the total charge Q is simple, the algebraic addition of your all the charges that is present on it. So the total charge Q is Q1 plus Q2 plus Q3, which is called as a additivity of charges. Then we have also seen the conservation of charge, that is the charge is neither going to create nor it is going to destroy, it is going to transfer from one object to another object. For example, NaCl, that is going to break into its component Na plus and Cl minus, but again if I combine it, then that NaCl which is neutral in state. So this is what you can say about the conservation of charge. The third and most important property is called as a quantization of charge. So generally how you measure the length of that building? So you are saying that first floor, second floor, third floor, you are never going to say that it is 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. So what I am doing, I am just following some rules that it is first, second, third, fourth. So it is nothing but the integer multiple. So the same thing is applicable over here also. So to measure the electric charge, it is always multiple of your basic quantity, and that is nothing but the charge on an electron. So the total charge is always integral multiple of your charge on an electron. So that is N into E. So this is how you can measure the total charge, which is also called as a quantization of charge, means it is always going to consider some discrete value. So that is called as a quantized value. So these are the properties of your electric charge. Those are very important. Additivity, then we have just say that your quantization and your conservation. Now we will focus on conductor and insulator. What is the exact difference between conductor and insulator? If you consider the atomic structure of conductor, for example that sodium, so in that case, if you consider the atomic structure, then its distribution is 281. That means in its outermost shell there is only one electron. So this electron is loosely bound to the nucleus. So if that electron gets some external energy, the electron can become free and it can move randomly within that structure. So likewise, there are n number of free electrons now available for conduction. So this is what I can call as a conductor, where I am having a large number of free electrons for conduction. So most metals are conductor because there are large number of free electrons are available. Now if you consider the structure of your insulator, in case of insulator, the number of electron in its outermost shell, it is more than 4. So the electrons are tightly bound to that nucleus, and because of which it can't become free. So the number of free electrons are very less, and that is the reason why there is no conduction through your insulator. So most non-metals are insulators. For example, that glass, wood, all comes under your insulator. So that is the exact difference between your conductor and insulator. In conductor, there are large number of free electrons, for example gold, aluminium, copper, and in insulator there are no free electrons, for example that glass and wood.